Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for stopping by the channel. So for this video, I wanted to review one of the Citizen models that I think really go under the radar, and that is from their Signature series, which this watch is a part of, which started out as like a JDM, Japanese Domestic Only version, and it's their upper echelon of what Citizen can do. So this is kind of like a Citizen Promaster that's a little bit beefed up. It does have some upgrades, including sapphire crystal and just amazing hand finish dial furniture. As well as the EcoDrive module is slightly different. It comes with a perpetual calendar and 300 meters of water resistance. Now I will mention I did pick this up on eBay for just over $300, and the only thing that came with it was just the head of the watch itself, and then I put it on this aftermarket oyster style bracelet. So let's talk about the dimensions first, and then I'll get into some of the features about this Citizen Signature watch. So this watch comes in with a 43mm diameter case, which is right on par with some of their other ProMasters in their lineup. Now flipping to the side, from lug tip to lug tip here is 48mm, and you can see how those lugs just kind of terminate dramatically here. And then case thickness is a very reasonable 12mm to a really nice flat sapphire crystal with nice anti-reflective treatment, and you can actually barely see the crystal in certain angles. It's that clear. And then I'll just mention the lug gap here for bracelet or strap options is a fairly standard 22mm, which is great to see. I know some of their other Signature series actually have an odd 23mm lug opening. So as I mentioned, very similar dimensions for a ProMaster style Citizen watch, but at this level, you're just getting some really nice hand finishing on the dial. So to me, this dial layout kind of resembles a hybrid between what a Seiko Presage would do, like a cocktail time, and then if you combine that with like the indices and handset of an Oris Aquis. Now there's a lot of dimension to this dial as well. You can see that there's kind of concentric circles within the multiple layers of a dial. Starting inbound, you have the Citizen EcoDrive written near the 12, and perpetual calendar, water resistant 300 closer to the 6. And you can see that dial is really sunken in. It's even just below the aperture for the date window at the 3, which is extremely well bordered and also has good dimension to it. Now, if you move away further from the dial to where the actual indexes are applied, just look at the detail of those applied indices. They're multifaceted, they're chamfered, and they just grab and play with light, almost to the level of like a Grand Seiko would do. I do appreciate that they do have a dual faceted index at the 12 to help with orientation, and then even the handset itself is very legible with broadsword style hands, and you can see that they have really nice chamfer and polishing done on the handset as well. And then look at the chapter ring too. I really like that Citizen does a good job with the alignment of the indexes with the chapter ring, and then outboard of the bezel as well. So speaking of the bezel insert, a lot of detail is played on this as well. It feels like it's a fully stainless steel solid bezel. You can see that for each 10-minute index, you have this nice protrusion, or almost like a rider tab you would find, similar to some of the bezels you would get on a Breitling. And I just like how the printing on the bezel is all raised, and then you also have just some very nice circular engraved grooves all along the bezel insert. This is a 120 click unidirectional bezel. It's very audible, the bezel action, but it's very reassuring, and zero backplay once you have it aligned. So as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, this Citizen does use EcoDrive, and this has the module E764, which has the perpetual calendar function. And some of the time zone setting functions require you to actuate the pusher that's recessed here near the 2 o'clock position. So the one thing I will say about this caliber is that it's a little cumbersome to actually set, but once it's set, you can forget it because obviously the perpetual calendar feature will ensure you have the correct date readout throughout the year. You might just have to adjust it once a year if you're following daylight savings time. Now, I'm not going to go in depth on how to initially set up this watch to make sure you're in the right year and month. I'll actually put a link to a YouTube video that Citizen put out that explains how to set up or do a master reset for these calibers. What I will do though is just unscrew the crown, and if I pull it up to the first position, it's just going to show you the leap year setting. So you can see here that it just landed here on the 5, which means that I'm in the month of May because May is the 5th month of the year. And the fact that it landed directly on this index and not slightly away from it tells you that we're in the first year of a leap year because 2020 was a leap year. Now I like that this crown is gnarled really well and it's oversized. Surprisingly though, they didn't sign this crown or they didn't go with multiple layers of finishing on the case itself. Most of that is reserved for that gorgeous dial, but you can see this is almost like a satin finish all along the sides of the case here. Which, I mean, being a dive watch, I don't actually mind that. You know, you don't show minor nicks as easily when you have that all satin finish. Now, interestingly, the only part of the watch that really is high polish is the case back here. And you can see in the center you have that stamped Citizen Eco Drive since 1918, and that this is part of a signature collection. And this model is within their Courageous line of Citizen signature models. Note that the case back is also screwed in. I don't think you'll need to mess with it because, of course, with this EcoDrive module, it is extremely sensitive to light and you do have a very strong power reserve. So just before I give you guys a wrist shot, let's talk about low light legibility. I think this watch does an extremely good job in low light situations. Even without any type of luminescence, you can just see how that dial furniture catches and plays with the light. On top of that, I'll throw up a low light shot just so you can see the lume that Citizen uses. They stuck with their traditional cool blue or almost like cobalt style blue luminescence, and it's very nicely applied on the handset. You even have it at the tip of a seconds hand there, and then you also have it applied to all of the indices as well. And the luminous pearl at the 12 o'clock position does show up very nicely, and I like how on the bezel that they kind of recessed that luminous pearl on the raised index on the 12 o'clock position there. Okay, and here's a wrist shot of the Citizen Signature Diver on my 19 centimeter circumference wrist, or about 7.5 inches. As you can see, it's very low in profile. It's actually fairly lightweight, but I do like how the weight is balanced out if you put it on a bracelet. It's unfortunate that the OEM bracelet did not come with this watch because that's a very nice bracelet as well. All right, so are there any negative aspects to purchasing the Citizen Signature Diver? I mean, I will mention that the MSRP on the Citizen Signature series is actually quite high. It's anywhere between 500 to about 1,000 US dollars. That said though, they do take a hit on the used market. So if you're interested in one of these watches, like I was, I would recommend checking out Chrono24 or eBay and then picking up the watch after it's depreciated when somebody bought it brand new. The main negative I have about this watch is the use of the E764 EcoDrive module because it is extremely cumbersome to set up. There is a 6-minute long video on how to do it, but again, once you have it set, you don't have to worry about anything. And I did mention that this specific EcoDrive module has an extremely long power reserve of over 6 months, and that can be charged up in a matter of minutes. Now, a downside to that I have found in some situations, if you do put this watch in total darkness for more than about a minute, that second hand will actually stop moving. It will go back to the 12 o'clock position. The watch will still keep really good time for you. You just won't see the second hand moving, which to me kind of threw me off a little bit. And I don't know why they really needed to conserve that much energy for having the second step motor not function in low light situations for a long time. And the only other, I think, negative aspect some people have pointed out is with the date aperture. I actually like how well they framed it, but you can see it is sunken really low into the dial. So at some angles, it's hard to see the date, or, if you have poor visibility, you can't really read what date it is. But guys, those are about the only negatives I can really say about this watch. I mean, again, if you can pick this up for between 300 to 500 US dollars, then I think you're getting a steal. It's definitely a significant upgrade to other Promaster models within the Signature lineup because you are getting 300 meters water resistant. You're getting a proper sapphire crystal with some of the best anti-reflective application on any dive watch I've seen. And then you're just getting the hand finishing that you wouldn't necessarily see on other Citizen models. But guys, I'd love to see your feedback. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Would you go for the Citizen Signature Diver over, like, say, the Citizen Tough models that were recently put out? I'd love to see your guys' feedback, and as always, I'll catch you guys in the next video.